until 1400. The Li and the Chen dynasty were the two dynasties that, let's say, built up our country into its most powerful at that time. So that many other countries like the Champa kingdom, the Funan kingdom, and many other neighboring countries, the Khmer, the Cham, they had to pay tribute to that king. The country was so powerful like that. And that is also the dynasty, the two dynasty that have to expand the territory of Vietnam presently, or at that time Đại Việt, further to the south. Because center of Vietnam and southern part of Vietnam were before, not the land of the Việt. This was the Funan kingdom and the Champa kingdom. The Li and the Chen, they not only helping our people, our country, to defend the country against the invasion of the Chinese and the Mongolian, but also have to expand the territory of Đại Việt further toward the south. After 1400, our country was thrown into turmoil, and the Chinese Ming came down to here. The Ming's army and that dynasty ruling Đại Việt from 1400 until 1427, and Lê Thái Tổ, the one with the story of the return short leg, bring back independence again. So that's the beginning of the rule of the Lê dynasty. After the Lê dynasty, we got the division of the country between the Trịnh Lord and the Nguyễn Lord, and then the rising up of the Tây Sơn rebellion until 1802, that we got the foundation of the Nguyen dynasty, Nguyen, Nguyen. That is the dynasty that we can say the last dynasty, feudal dynasty in Vietnam, ruling our country from 1802 until 1945 with 13 kings. And this is the dynasty that witnessing many changes of our country. The arriving of the French, many riots, because there was some royal plus group, royal landlord, who, I use the word royal because they support the king, and a few others who want to open the country to the west. From 1802, with the king Gia Long. Gia Long was a talented king, in my opinion. Even in order to get back the power from the Tây Sơn rebellion, Tây Sơn dynasty, Gia Long had to ask for support from the French. One of the reasons that he's not really famous, I should use the word reputable, because in Vietnam, not all the people supporting him. Even in the modern history, they still not yet remember or memorize his contribution to the reunification of the country by 1802. Just simply because he asked for the support of the French. When the French later, that is the reason one of the reasons the French could be here and colonize our country for another 18 years. 1802, we got Vietnam like today. He choosing his name Gia Long. This is the combination. Gia is the name of Gia Dinh. Gia Dinh is the presently Saigon. Yeah, that's the former name of Saigon. And Long in Thăng Long, Hanoi presently. He was the first king, throughout the history that were able to shape the map of Vietnam like from north to south with Saigon, Gia Dinh, and Thăng Long. So he chose his royal name, Gia Long. Gia Long was the first king. That dynasty continued for another 13 different kings until the modern history, the time of Ho Chi Minh. 1858, the French came under the pretext that they say they came to assist the French Catholic missionary at the time in Vietnam, because the Nguyen dynasty, more of the king of the Nguyen dynasty, in fact, they choose to shut the border, refuse contacts with Europeans. They also give a very strict ban to Catholicism. They prosecute missionaries. So that's the reason the French came. 1858, very quick. As soon as they arrive, at that time, if the, let's say, thanks to also the support of many Vietnamese Catholics at that time, the French quickly they took control of 6 provinces in the Mekong Delta. Right now, surrounding Saigon, 6 provinces, and set up what they call the Cochin. Vietnamese word for Nam Kỳ, southern part of Vietnam. They still recognize the power of the Vietnamese king and naming that country An Nam. An Nam. So An Nam is the center of Vietnam because the capital city of Vietnam from 1802 was Hue Quế, not far from Hue An, Da Nang. It's just within about 100 km. In the north, the Tonkin were in fact were the final target of the French, but it's not easy for them. 1870, 1875, 1882, 1883, at least 3 attempts, and they with military attack, but they finally took control of the Tonkin in the north of Vietnam and set up all 3 parts of Vietnam, so that this is one, let's say, state belong to the French Union, Indochina. So we got another term, Indochina. Early of the 20th century, we saw the rising up of many movement and revolution movement fighting against the French for the country independent, but not supporting the king. They want to build up the country like one independent Vietnam with many other models. This is the first time you see the rising up of communism, socialism movement, especially after the success of the Russian Revolution in 1917. And the first socialist country in the world was founded, Soviet Union. So we got, here we need to mention about one greatest man of Vietnam, Ho Chi Minh, like the father of the country. Ho was born in the central part of Vietnam in 1890. In 1911, when he was 21 years old, he left the country and came to France. And that is the place that Ho chose to become a member of the French Communist Party. That's why in the year 1990, 2 years after the success of Russian Revolution, the October Revolution, with Lenin as the leaders and many other communists, Russian communist leaders, and the founding of Soviet Union. 1924, Ho Chi Minh became a member of International Communist Organization, and really amazing. 1930, in February the 3rd, 1930, Ho Chi Minh at that time, who was a very influencing man over the youth in Vietnam, and also young revolutionists with communist influence, he was able, Ho Chi Minh at that time, he was able to reunited all the revolution forces in Vietnam into one party. That was the story of the foundation of the Communist Party of Vietnam. Vietnam Communist Party. Vietnam Communist Party was founded in Hong Kong. At that time under the British, and communist forces are not considered to be like criminal, because the French, very different. French consider the communists, especially in China, as a criminal.
Xe của nhà nhá.
Hong Kong, where the Vietnamese Communist Party was founded, and soon after in the 30s, you see the economic crisis all over the world, and the World War II start by 1939. At that time, Ho Chi Minh came back to Vietnam in 1941. So it was 2 years after the World War II started. Ho Chi Minh came back to Vietnam, and he founded Viet Minh, your generation. You hear about Viet Minh and you hear about Viet Cong. Viet Cong was the name that they were using or nickname Vietnamese communists during the American War, Vietnam War. But Viet Minh was the name that they were using in the French War. It's all referred to Vietnamese communists. Viet Minh were the leading forces, the military leading forces that helping our people in the fight against the French. That we gained back independence for Vietnam in 1945. 1945, when the World War II ended, the Viet Minh made a revolution. They call the August Revolution. And on the 2nd of September 1945, Ho Chi Minh officially declared independence for Vietnam, founding the first socialist country in South Asia, that is the Socialist Republic of Vietnam. So we got Ho Chi Minh as the first elected president of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam. But after that, based on a treaty that was signed in Potsdam, the French were ready to come back. French entered the south to disarm the Japanese. Meanwhile, in the north, Chiang Kai-shek, Kuomintang army of Chiang Kai-shek entered the north of Vietnam to disarm him, to accept the surrender of the Japanese and disarming them. Vietnam was stuck in that war for another 9 years, from 1945 until 1954, known in history as the First Indochina War, or the Vietnam, or the Franco-Vietnam War. Yeah, you might remember the Franco-Vietnam War, 1945-1954, ending up with Dien Phu. Yeah, you know that. You heard about that. Dien Phu was a very famous battle that the Viet Minh, they defeated the French army in a terrible and furious fighting, which lasts for 55 days, maybe 2 months, in a beautiful valley not far from Sapa, a bit 200 km from Sapa. That was in the junction of 3 countries, Vietnam, Laos, China. That is a beautiful valley, but the French chose that to be to build a very strong military base. And this one, the French, they got a plan. When they build that military base, they want to turn it into a trap to draw the attention of the Viet Minh and get them into the final fight if they want to end the war. But it's funny, with the support of Soviet Union and Republic of China. Independence of China was in October 1949 when Mao Zedong completes the long march, reunited China. Chinese Revolution succeeded, and China communists at that time, they want to have an ally, communist ally nearby. Ho Chi Minh become one, close ally with Beijing. We can say Beijing or Mao Zedong. So we got support from both Soviet Union and China in the fight against the French in Dien Bien Phu. But of course, we also need to mention about the talent of one of our national heroes, General Vo Nguyen Giap, and the sacrifice of many thousand Vietnamese soldiers in the fight for Dien Bien Phu. After Dien Bien Phu battle, just one day, it was ended. They see the fire 7th of May 1954. Right the next day, 8th of May 1954, a very famous treaty about peace for Indochina was signed. It was signed in Switzerland, Geneva. But that treaty ended up with dividing Vietnam into 2 countries. North Vietnam Socialist and South Vietnam Democratic. There were 2 leaders. Ho Chi Minh was the leader of the North, and Ngo Dinh Diep, at that time leader of the South. We expect to have an election by 1956, within 2 years after the Geneva Treaty was signed, so that the Vietnamese people can choose their own future. This is the story of choosing the ideology of the country, whether it would be with socialism or capitalism. But you see, at that time, the Americans, they were planning for a plan so that they really fear, they really I mean, like, took it really serious. They feared about the rising of communism in Asia. The rising of communism in Asia could possibly, in the strategy of the American at that time, that if they want to win the balance of the world. It's the same story that happened in North Korea and South Korea. After the Korean War, we got two, North Korea and South Korea. In Vietnam, the same. After the French War, Vietnam was divided into two. North Vietnam with like communist and socialist bloc support. Here referred to Soviet Union and Republic of China. Meanwhile, in the South, American, they were sending around a few thousand men to Saigon, known as Military Advisor Group, MAG, Military Advisor Group, to help to train the army for Republic of South Vietnam. Here I refer to as South Vietnam, right? To train the army for South Vietnam in order to defend South Vietnam against communism. And there were a temporary border, they call it DMZ, Demilitarized Zone, by the 17th parallel, presently nearby Quảng Trị. It's in Quảng Trị and nearby Hue and Hoi An. Because I say Hoi An because at least you can imagine that it's where in our country, when the center dividing Vietnam into two. And that's what the beginning of another war, known as the Vietnam War. The first, let's say the first 5 to 10 years, American people, they just got a few thousand men here, and they just had to train the army for South Vietnam. But from 1959, North Vietnam, Hanoi, and the leader in Hanoi, they got different plans. They did not obey, and they did not expect that they're gonna wait for that election for that long time like that. It never happened. South Vietnam refused to have the election. Some of the leaders fearing that they might lose the election to Ho Chi Minh, so they reject. So North Vietnam and Hanoi decide to liberate Saigon, liberate South Vietnam with military efforts, fighting. They don't expect or rely on peace talk anymore. They start sending troops to the south. They're sending the communists from Hanoi, from the north to the south, and trying the propaganda program to make up the communists in the south to fight. And here we got the story of the Ho Chi Minh Trail. They built the road from center Vietnam, going through the border with Laos, going through the border with Cambodia, entering the Mekong. That is the trail that, yearly they carry million tons of ammunition. And there were 100,000 Vietnamese men from the north entering South Vietnam. In Korea, nowadays, if you see any story about the intruder, quickly they detect, but in the old day, 100,000 men enter. Until the American CIA, they discover, they quickly change the strategy. They say if we did not do necessary thing, the fort of Saigon will be counting by months only. Okay, at that time, the communists launched many attacks. And in 1964, one incident happened. Today we are going to Halong Bay. Before American and international word, Tonkin Bay. And there's one incident that took place on the 5th of August 1964. This was when President Johnson, Lyndon Biden Johnson, called for the support of the Army and the Navy to bomb North Vietnam. There were 2 American warships anchoring offshore of the Tonkin Bay, Halong Bay presently, and they accused Northern Vietnamese Army of attacking them because they just simply want a reason to start the war. Later on, they discovered that Johnson lied about that. There was no attack, but they need a reason to bomb because they knew that communists were sending troops to the south, but they need a reason to fight. So the Tonkin Bay incident was set up. And it was on the 5th of August 1964 that the Americans, they start all the bombing along the DMZ. They start the bombing in the North Vietnam, including Hanoi, in order to stop the support from North Vietnam to South Vietnam. And you see, 1 year after that, in Da Nang, American Marine men was sent to Da Nang. The 3rd Infantry Group was sent to Da Nang officially. Number of Americans in South Vietnam increasing 10,000, 20,000, and at high point it was 500,000, with many other countries including South Korea, Philippines, Australia as some main ally of the Americans in South Vietnam. Right after the American end up, they carry out a lot of plan. But the name is, if you really interested in the war, you can search for the word, the Phoenix program by American carry out in Vietnam, or Search and Destroy. Search and Destroy. Phoenix program, strategy complex. That's all the plan, including like to eliminate communists out of the community in South Vietnam. Search and Destroy is bombing and trying to fight and destroy Vietnamese infantry or Vietnamese army at that time were basing in South Vietnam. Ladies and gentlemen, the first open fight was in 1968 with the famous Tet Offensive or New Year Offensive. Took place right on the New Year of Vietnamese people. New Year Eve of 1968, that the communists, they launched new attack towards all big city in South Vietnam. And you see, after a few weeks being shocked by that, American and South Vietnamese army were able to force the communists out of the main city of Saigon. But even though the communists, they faced terrible loss, but it leading the war to the party pitch stop. American, for the first time, American in audience, American people at home, they know about the Vietnam War. Because before, their mothers, their wife, the mother and the wife of all American soldiers, they were told that your son, your husband come to Vietnam, you have to free the people from communism. And now for the first time they see what really happened in Vietnam. They see they were door-to-door fighting. Innocent people were killed. They even like American and one Saigon general persecute the communists right on the way. But he looked like an ordinary people. But no one can tell that they are communists. It shocked the world audience. And this was the beginning of the anti-war movement. But in some way, it's good for the communists because they make the war become well known to all over the world, so that they gain the support from many other countries in the world about ending the war. From 1968, they have to sit down together in Paris and start talking about ending the war. In 1973, January 1973, the Paris Treaty about Vietnam War was signed. Americans choose to leave. In fact, they abandoned South Vietnam. You can say that because they already got a new strategy, another strategy for South Asia. At that time, they decided to normalization the relation with Beijing. When Nixon came to Beijing, 1 year after that, Paris Treaty about ending the war in Vietnam was signed. And now, the situation of Vietnam at that time was a real fight between North Vietnam and South Vietnam only. Americans stay outside the war, but they giving support again like that. But within 2 years, there was the support from U.S. to Saigon were cut down, especially after the Watergate. When Nixon had to resign, Gerald Ford elected as the president, and he continued with one of his slogan when he ran for president was that he would end the Vietnam War, withdraw the army from South Vietnam. So Gerald Ford actually cut all the aid to South Vietnam. Almost 3/4 of all the aid was cut. Even South Vietnam President Nguyễn Văn Thiệu at that time, he bitterly admitted that Americans, they were abandoning them. And in 1975, in April 1975, communist forces successfully in arriving Saigon. You see the communist tank crashed into the gate of the Independence Palace, ending the Vietnam War. From 1975, Vietnam became a reunified country. But the great man that I earlier mentioned, Ho Chi Minh, he could not leave until the day he see the country reunification and the liberation of Saigon. Ho Chi Minh left Vietnam from Saigon in 1911 to go to Paris. When he came back to Vietnam, he came back from the north, and he became the leader, the president of North Vietnam. But from 1954 until 1975, Vietnam was divided into two. Now, similarly, he haven't got chance to come back to Saigon yet, counting from the day he was leaving the country in 1911. When he died right on the National Day, 1969, September the 2nd. The day that 25 years prior to that, he read the Independence Declaration in Hanoi. 1945, 2nd September, and 1969, 2nd September, he passed away in Hanoi. To express the wish of Ho Chi Minh that one day he can go back to Saigon from after the reunification of the country. In 1976, on the third National Assembly meeting, the Communist Party and the government decided to change the name of Saigon into Ho Chi Minh City. One day to just to know about the changing of the name of the big city like that in Saigon. Ladies and gentlemen, so today for Ha Long Bay, we will have chance to get to one of our most biggest city in our country, Quảng Ninh and Ha Long City. Quảng Ninh is the name of the provinces. Ha Long is the name of the capital city, the metropolis of Quảng Ninh. With a famous incident that ever took place in 1964, it's a long time ago, yeah, related to the war, Ton Kin Bay incident. But now when we come to Ha Long Bay, many people would no longer remember about that incident, but they know more about Ha Long Bay as the famous World Natural Heritage of Vietnam. Ha Long Bay were also similar to what we call Chieu Quy Linh, Little Quy Linh of Vietnam. But there is something different. Quy Linh and other parts like in Ninh Bình, we were limestone mountain. But what we are going to see in Long Bay is limestone island. That is a beautiful area with high density of island, many islands. In 1994, UNESCO included Ha Long Bay as World Natural Heritage. That is the award for the natural beauty. You want to lift it up? That is the award, the World Natural Heritage for the natural beauty of the bay. And amazingly, 6 years after that, in the year 2000, UNESCO again inscribed Ha Long Bay as World Natural and Cultural Heritage. So besides the natural beauty, UNESCO also awarded Ha Long Bay for its biology diversity, cultural value, besides the natural beauty. Ha Long Bay covers a total area of 1,553 square km, 1553 square km, with nearly 2,000 islands. The exact number were 1,969 islands in Ha Long Bay. And the meaning of the name Ha Long is also interesting to know. We just got to know about the name Thăng Long, ascending dragon flying up. And in the mythology, as I told you, dragon is like our father. It is said that when the foreign invader, long time ago, got the plan to invade Vietnam And when the warship of the invader, he possibly referred to China. When the Chinese warship were about to attack the country, the Jet Empire sent the Dragon family to help the enemy to defend the country. And the Dragon family landing down from the mouth of the dragon, they spin out pearl, jade, and when the precious stone get into the water, it changes into a huge limestone mountain and island to stop the boat of the enemy. So from then on, we got the legend of the descending dragon, opposite to the name ascending. Yes, descending dragon landing to defend the country from the invasion of possibly, I think they refer to Chinese, but they did not mention it. But the name is Ha Long, meaning descending dragon bay. The further part to Ha Long Bay, we got Bai Tu Long and Lam Ha Bay, further to the bay. Before it likely looked like once, but basing on the geographic dividing of province and city, Bai Tu Long is still belonging to Quảng Ninh province, but Lan Ha nearby is belonging to Hai Phong, another part. But in fact, in my opinion, it should be one area. Totally it should be around 3,000 islands. But in the protected area of Ha Long Bay 1969, listed as a UNESCO site, with a day trip in Ha Long Bay today by around 11:30. I think so, yeah, even with some toilet break, 11:30,